Question 1. During the daily Scrum, the developers are having a detailed technical discussion that is taking longer than the 15-minute time box. What is the most appropriate action for the Scrum Master? A. Stop the discussion immediately and tell the team to stick to the 3 questions. B. Let the discussion continue, as solving technical problems is important for the sprint. C. Facilitate a separate, follow-up meeting after the daily Scrum for the interested team members. D. Extend the daily Scrum time box to 30 minutes for this one occasion. Answer: C. Facilitate a separate, follow-up meeting after the daily Scrum for the interested team members. The daily Scrum's purpose is for the developers to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog as necessary, all within a 15-minute time box. The Scrum Master's role is to ensure the event happens and that it remains within its intended purpose and duration. When a deep technical conversation emerges, the correct approach is to respect the time box and purpose of the daily Scrum by scheduling a separate meeting for problem solving, often called a parking lot or follow-up session. This keeps the daily Scrum focused and efficient for the entire team while allowing for necessary detailed discussions to occur. Remember, the daily Scrum is a planning and inspection event for the next 24 hours, not a problem-solving session. Question 2. Who has the final say on the order of the items in the product backlog? A. The developers, because they know the technical effort required. B. The Scrum Master, because they are responsible for the Scrum process. C. The stakeholders, because they are the ones funding the project. D. The product owner, because they are accountable for value maximization. Answer: D. The product owner, because they are accountable for value maximization. The product owner is solely accountable for effective product backlog management, which includes the ordering of its items to best achieve the product's goals and mission. While the product owner will certainly take input from the developers about effort and from stakeholders about needs, the final decision on ordering rests with them. This accountability ensures a clear vision and direction for the product, preventing confusion from conflicting priorities. For example, even if a feature is technically easy, the product owner may place it lower in the backlog if it delivers less business value than a more complex item. The key takeaway is that the product owner owns the what and why of the product, which is reflected in the product backlog's order. Question 3. What is the primary purpose of the sprint goal? A. To provide a detailed list of all the work that must be completed during the sprint. B. To create a cohesive, valuable objective for the sprint, giving the developers flexibility. C. To act as a performance metric for the developers. D. To be a contractual agreement between the Scrum team and the stakeholders. Answer: B. To create a cohesive, valuable objective for the sprint, giving the developers flexibility. The sprint goal is a single objective for the sprint that provides focus, coherence, and flexibility to the developers. It is crafted during sprint planning and gives the team a why they are building the increment, encouraging them to work together rather than on separate initiatives. Unlike a simple list of tasks, the sprint goal allows the developers to adapt their plan and the work they perform throughout the sprint to best achieve this objective. For instance, a sprint goal might be, implement a basic shopping cart checkout process, which provides clear direction but allows the developers to figure out the best way to do it. Think of the sprint goal as the team's shared mission for the sprint, guiding them toward a unified outcome. Question 4. A new developer joins the team. Who is responsible for bringing them up to speed with the development practices and processes? A. The Scrum Master. B. The product owner. C. The developers. D. The functional manager. Answer: C. The developers. The developers in a Scrum team are self-managing, which means they internally decide how to best accomplish their work. This responsibility extends to onboarding new members and ensuring the entire team possesses the skills and knowledge needed to create a valuable increment each sprint. While the Scrum Master may facilitate introductions or remove impediments to the new members' learning, the accountability for integrating them into the team's way of working lies with the developers themselves. This peer-to-peer knowledge sharing strengthens the team's collective ownership and cross-functionality. The best way to remember this is that a self-managing team manages its own members and work. Question 5. Which statement best describes the definition of done? A. A checklist that is the same for all Scrum teams within an organization. B. A formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. C. The list of product backlog items selected for the sprint. D. A document that is created and signed off by stakeholders at the sprint review. Answer. B. A formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. The definition of done is a crucial element of Scrum that creates transparency by providing a shared understanding of what work is complete on the product increment. It is a formal description of the quality standards that must be met for a product backlog item to be considered part of the increment. If an organization has a standard definition of done, the Scrum team must follow it as a minimum, but they can and should add to it to make it more stringent for their specific product. For example, done might include that the code is reviewed, tested, and integrated. Remember, if something is not done, it cannot be part of the current increment and returns to the product backlog for future consideration. Question 6. What are the 3 pillars of empiricism in Scrum? A. Planning, execution, and delivery. B. Commitment, focus, and openness. C. Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. D. Product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. Answer. C. Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Empiricism, the core of the Scrum framework, asserts that knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is observed. This is operationalized through 3 pillars: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Transparency means the process and work are visible to those performing the work and those receiving it. Inspection involves frequently examining Scrum artifacts and progress toward a goal to detect undesirable variances. Adaptation means adjusting the process or the product as soon as possible to minimize further deviation. Every event in Scrum is an opportunity to inspect and adapt, such as adapting the plan at the daily Scrum. Question 7. Who is allowed to participate in the daily Scrum? A. Only the developers. B. The developers and the Scrum Master. C. The Scrum team and any invited stakeholders. D. The developers, with the Scrum Master and Product Owner participating only if they are also actively working on sprint backlog items. Answer. D. The developers, with the Scrum Master and Product Owner participating only if they are also actively working on sprint backlog items. The daily Scrum is an event specifically for the developers of the Scrum team to plan their work for the next 24 hours. If the Product Owner or Scrum Master are also actively working on items in the sprint backlog, they participate as developers. Otherwise, they do not participate, as their presence can disrupt the team's self-management and turn the event into a status report for them rather than a planning session for the team. The Scrum Guide is very clear that the event is for the developers, ensuring they have a dedicated forum to inspect progress and adapt their plan. A good rule of thumb is, if you aren't working on the how, you should not be an active participant in the daily Scrum. Question 8. When must a sprint goal be changed? A. When the developers realize they cannot complete all the forecasted work. B. When the stakeholders demand a new feature be added mid-sprint. C. A sprint goal should not be changed, the sprint would be cancelled instead if the goal becomes obsolete. D. Whenever the product owner decides it should be changed. Answer. C. A sprint goal should not be changed, the sprint would be cancelled instead if the goal becomes obsolete. The sprint goal is a commitment by the developers and is designed to provide stability and focus throughout the sprint. Quality should not decrease, and the scope may be clarified and renegotiated between the product owner and developers as more is learned, but changes that render the sprint goal obsolete should not occur. If external circumstances make the sprint goal obsolete, the sprint itself may be cancelled by the product owner. This protects the team from thrash and preserves the empirical nature of Scrum, ensuring that sprints deliver a coherent, valuable outcome. Think of the sprint goal as the North Star for the sprint. If that star disappears, you need to stop and find a new one. Question 9. What is the main purpose of the sprint review? A. To demonstrate the increment and get formal sign-off from stakeholders. B. To inspect the outcome of the sprint and determine future adaptations for the product. C. To provide a status report to management on the team's performance and velocity. D. To plan the work for the next sprint. Answer: B. To inspect the outcome of the sprint and determine future adaptations for the product. The sprint review is a key event for inspection and adaptation, focused on the product itself. The Scrum team presents the results of their work to key stakeholders, and everyone collaborates on what to do next to optimize value. The event is a working session where feedback on the increment is gathered, which then informs the product backlog and provides valuable input for the upcoming sprint planning. It is not just a demo, but a strategic conversation about the future direction of the product based on the tangible progress made. The goal is to get feedback that helps adapt the product backlog, not to get a sign-off or report on team metrics. Question 10. The developers have selected a number of product backlog items for the sprint backlog, but they are struggling to formulate a single, cohesive sprint goal. What should the Scrum Master do? A. Coach the team on the importance of having a sprint goal that provides focus and a shared objective. B. Create a sprint goal for the team based on the selected items. C. Tell the team to proceed without a sprint goal for this sprint. D. Ask the product owner to define the sprint goal for the developers. Answer: A. Coach the team on the importance of having a sprint goal that provides focus and a shared objective. A Scrum Master acts as a coach and facilitator, helping the team understand and enact Scrum correctly. If the team is struggling to create a sprint goal, it often indicates the selected work is a disconnected collection of tasks rather than a coherent set of features that deliver value. The Scrum Master should coach the Scrum team, including the product owner and developers, on why a sprint goal is critical for providing focus, flexibility, and a sense of collective purpose. They guide the team in collaborating to craft a goal, rather than creating it for them or allowing them to skip this crucial commitment. The best action is to empower the team to solve the problem by understanding the principle behind the practice. Question 11. What does it mean for a Scrum team to be cross-functional? A. Every member of the team can do every task, including testing, analysis, and operations. B. The team has all the competencies needed to create a valuable, done increment without depending on others outside the team. C. The team is composed of members from different departments within the organization. D. The team can switch between different projects as needed. Answer: B. The team has all the competencies needed to create a valuable, done increment without depending on others outside the team. Cross-functionality in Scrum means that the team as a whole possesses all the necessary skills to create a finished product increment. It does not mean that every individual member has every skill, but rather that within the team, there is no need to reach out to external groups for tasks like design, development, testing, or integration to get the work to a done state. This self-sufficiency reduces external dependencies, delays, and handoffs, which empowers the team to take full ownership of their work from start to finish. For example, a cross-functional software team might include members with skills in front-end development, back-end development, database management, and quality assurance. This collective skill set enables them to deliver value independently. Question 12. During a sprint, who is responsible for managing the sprint backlog? A. The product owner. B. The Scrum Master. C. The developers. D. The project manager. Answer: C. The developers. The sprint backlog is a plan by and for the developers. It is composed of the sprint goal, the product backlog item selected for the sprint, and an actionable plan for delivering the increment. Since the developers are the ones doing the work, they own and manage the sprint backlog throughout the sprint. They are responsible for tracking their progress, updating the remaining work, and adapting their plan as needed to achieve the sprint goal. This ownership is a key aspect of self-management, empowering the team to make tactical decisions about how they will accomplish their objective. Question 13. What is the recommended length for a sprint? A. Always 2 weeks. B. Always 30 days. C. 1 month or less. D. Between 2 and 6 weeks. Answer: C. 1 month or less. The Scrum Guide states that sprints are fixed-length events of 1 month or less to create consistency. A shorter sprint provides more frequent opportunities for inspection and adaptation, which reduces risk, but it also increases the overhead of the Scrum events. The exact duration, e.g., 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks, is a decision for the Scrum team to make based on what works best for their product, stakeholders, and context. The key rule is that the length is consistent and never exceeds 1 month, as longer durations can lead to increased complexity and risk, undermining the empirical process. The consistency of the sprint length provides a predictable rhythm for the team and stakeholders. Question 14. An organization wants to start using Scrum. Who is responsible for ensuring Scrum is understood and enacted correctly across the organization? A. The senior management. B. The product owner. C. The Scrum Master. D. The developers. Answer: C. The Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is responsible for promoting and supporting Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. This service extends beyond the Scrum team to the entire organization. The Scrum Master helps the organization understand Scrum theory and practice, and they work to remove impediments that exist between the team and the wider organizational environment. For instance, they might coach stakeholders on how to interact effectively with the Scrum team or help managers understand how to support self-managing teams. This organizational role is crucial for creating an environment where Scrum can thrive and be effective. Question 15. The purpose of the sprint retrospective is to A. Inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog. B. Plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness for the next sprint. C. Discuss and resolve personal conflicts between team members. D. Provide a report to stakeholders on what went well and what did not. Answer: B. Plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness for the next sprint. The sprint retrospective is an event for the Scrum team to inspect itself and create a plan for improvements to be enacted during the next sprint. The focus is on the team's processes, interactions, tools, and their definition of done. It's an opportunity for the team to reflect on the past sprint and identify actionable improvements to enhance their quality and effectiveness. For example, the team might decide to improve their automated testing process or adjust the timing of their daily Scrum. The key is that the outcome is a concrete plan for improvement, not just a discussion or a report for others. Question 16. What is an increment? A. The sum of all product backlog items completed during a sprint. B. A concrete stepping stone toward the product goal. C. All the done work from the current sprint combined with the increments of all previous sprints. D. All of the above. Answer: D. All of the above. The increment is a core Scrum artifact and represents the cumulative result of all work completed in the current and all previous sprints. Each increment is a concrete step toward the product goal and must be in a usable, done state, meaning it meets the definition of done. It is additive. The work from the current sprint is integrated with all prior increments to form a new, more valuable version of the product. This ensures that at the end of every sprint, a potentially releasable version of the product exists, which is a key principle for enabling empiricism and delivering value early and often. Question 17. The product owner is repeatedly unavailable, causing delays in clarifying product backlog items. What is the most appropriate first step for the Scrum Master? A. Coach the product owner on the importance of their role and its impact on the team's progress. B. Report the product owner's unavailability to their functional manager. C. Ask the developers to make their best guess on the requirements to keep moving. D. Temporarily take over the product owner's responsibilities to unblock the team. Answer: A. Coach the product owner on the importance of their role and its impact on the team's progress. The Scrum Master's role includes coaching the product owner in effective product backlog management and ensuring they understand their responsibilities to the team. When the product owner is unavailable, the first and most constructive action is for the Scrum Master to have a conversation with them, explaining how their absence creates impediments and negatively impacts the team's ability to deliver value. This approach respects the product owner's role while addressing the problem directly and collaboratively. Escalating to a manager or taking over the role bypasses the opportunity for the team to resolve the issue themselves and undermines the self-management and accountability principles of Scrum. Question 18. Several Scrum teams are working on the same product. What is the best way to structure the product backlog and the product owner role? A. Each team should have its own product backlog and its own product owner. B. There should be one product backlog and one product owner for the product. C. There should be one product backlog, but each team should have its own product owner. D. Each team should have its own product backlog, but share one product owner. Answer: B. There should be one product backlog and one product owner for the product. When multiple teams work on a single product, they must share one product backlog and one product owner. This ensures that there is a single source of truth for the work to be done on the product and a single person accountable for maximizing its value. Having one product backlog prevents conflicting priorities, integration problems, and divergent product visions that would arise from separate backlogs. The single product owner is responsible for ordering this backlog to guide all the teams toward the same product goal, ensuring all their combined work integrates into one valuable product increment. Question 19. The time spent on product backlog refinement should typically consume no more than what percentage of the developer's capacity? A. 5%. B. 10%. C. 20%. D. 25%. Answer: B. 10%. Product backlog refinement is the ongoing activity of adding detail, estimates, and order to items in the product backlog. While it is not a formal Scrum event, it is a crucial activity to prepare for future sprints. The Scrum Guide suggests that this activity usually consumes no more than 10% of the developer's capacity. This is a guideline, not a strict rule, meant to ensure that the team spends the vast majority of its time on development work toward the current sprint goal, while still dedicating enough time to prepare for the future. For example, in a 40-hour week, a developer might spend about 4 hours on refinement activities. Question 20. During sprint planning, the product owner and the developers cannot agree on the number of items to be included in the sprint. Who makes the final decision? A. The product owner, as they are responsible for value. B. The Scrum Master, who must mediate and make a final call. C. The developers, as they are the ones who will be doing the work. D. The key stakeholders, who are funding the sprint. Answer: C. The developers, as they are the ones who will be doing the work. During sprint planning, the product owner proposes how the product could increase its value in the upcoming sprint, and the whole Scrum team collaborates to define a sprint goal. However, only the developers can assess what they can accomplish in the sprint. They are the ones who select the amount of work from the product backlog for the sprint backlog. This is a core tenet of self-management. The people doing the work are in the best position to forecast how much they can realistically complete. The product owner cannot force the team to take on more work than they believe is feasible. Question 21. A stakeholder is upset that a feature they requested was not included in the most recent increment. What is the best way for the Scrum Master to handle this? A. Apologize to the stakeholder and promise the feature will be in the next sprint. B. Tell the stakeholder that their requests are not a priority. C. Invite the stakeholder to attend the next sprint review to collaborate with the product owner on future priorities. D. Explain that the developers are not working hard enough. Answer: C. Invite the stakeholder to attend the next sprint review to collaborate with the product owner on future priorities. The Scrum Master serves the organization by helping stakeholders and the Scrum team understand each other and interact effectively. When a stakeholder is upset, the most constructive response is to improve transparency and collaboration. Inviting the stakeholder to the sprint review allows them to see the latest increment, understand the progress made, and participate in the discussion about what to do next. This gives them a direct line to influence the product backlog's future ordering by collaborating with the product owner, ensuring their feedback is heard and considered for upcoming sprints. Question 22. What is the primary role of a manager in an organization that has adopted Scrum? A. To direct the daily tasks of the developers. B. To manage the product backlog on behalf of the product owner. C. To support the Scrum team's self-management and remove organizational impediments. D. To gather performance data on individual team members for annual reviews. Answer: C. To support the Scrum team's self-management and remove organizational impediments. In a Scrum environment, the role of a traditional manager shifts from directing work to supporting the teams. Managers play a crucial role in fostering an environment where empiricism and self-management can flourish. Their focus should be on removing organizational-level impediments that are beyond the Scrum team's ability to solve, providing resources and support, and helping to develop people's capabilities. They should trust the team to manage their own work, stepping back from day-to-day direction and instead acting as leaders who enable agility. A helpful way to think about it is that managers manage the environment, while the team manages the work. Question 23. The developers consistently fail to complete all the items they forecast in sprint planning. Which of the Scrum values is most important for the team to embrace to address this issue? A. Respect. B. Focus. C. Commitment. D. Openness. Answer: D. Openness. While all Scrum values are important, openness is most critical in this situation. Openness is about being transparent about the work, the challenges, and the progress. If the team is consistently over-forecasting, they need to be open about why this is happening during their sprint retrospective. This could be due to unforeseen complexity, external interruptions, or an inaccurate definition of done. By being open about these challenges, the team can inspect the problem and adapt their planning approach, leading to more realistic forecasts in the future. Without openness, the root cause will remain hidden, and the pattern will likely continue. Question 24. Who is responsible for canceling a sprint? A. The Scrum Master. B. The developers. C. The product owner. D. The stakeholders. Answer: C. The product owner. The product owner has the sole authority to cancel a sprint, although they may do so after consulting with the developers and stakeholders. A sprint cancellation is a rare and disruptive event, and it should only occur if the sprint goal becomes obsolete. This might happen due to a drastic change in the market, a shift in company strategy, or some other external event that makes the current sprint's work irrelevant. Because the product owner is accountable for maximizing product value, they are the only person who can make the call that the current sprint goal no longer serves that purpose. Question 25. Velocity is a measure of the amount of work a team completes in a sprint. How should it primarily be used? A. As a performance metric to compare different Scrum teams. B. As a forecasting tool for the developers to help with future sprint planning. C. As a way for management to hold the team accountable for productivity targets. D. As a key performance indicator, KPI, to report to stakeholders. Answer: B. As a forecasting tool for the developers to help with future sprint planning. Velocity is a helpful but informal metric that measures the average amount of product backlog work turned into a done increment during a sprint by a specific team. Its primary and most appropriate use is as a forecasting aid for that team alone. By understanding their historical velocity, the developers can make more realistic forecasts about how much work they can pull into future sprints. Using velocity to compare teams is misleading because each team's estimates are unique, and using it as a performance target often leads to teams inflating estimates or compromising quality to make the numbers. The key is to treat velocity as an internal tool for planning, not an external tool for judgment.